What's going on, guys? Welcome back. You thought Red Hulk was busted. What about U.S. Agent? Yeah, he's probably going to suck, but we're going to talk about where we think he is going to work. But more importantly, there's one archetype that's really going to shine with the new card. We're also going to be talking about the OTA update, the return of Angela, the end of Thanos, Crossbones finally got buffed. And with that, what other cards are terrible in Snap, and it's their time to get the OTA like Captain America. We're lastly going to be ending on what a lot of people wanted to see from the Snapchat, and that's me and Alex talking about our sleeper picks at every cost. Cards that people aren't playing, but they absolutely should be playing more of. We're going to be talking about that all today and more on this episode of the Snapchat. And as always, I am joined by Mr. Alex Coccia on this fine Monday in April. And is there any reason that you are looking like Cyclops from Wish.com?
My man, I'm going to be staring at the sun today. I cannot wait for the lunar eclipse. Guys, I'm going to be staring. I usually just stare at the sun for fun without the glasses on. But I've been told that wearing the glasses makes the experience much more enjoyable.
You look wasted because the eyes are like this, so it's like up a little bit. You should. The challenge would be to put those on the entire episode. I'm going to be gone because you're up there in Canada, right? So you're like lining up right with the eclipse.
Yeah, we're right in like the totality range, as they like to say. Sorry, I can't see anything. I'm not even sure where my camera is. These things are so dark. I mean, I guess they're designed for staring
at the sun. That's the point, I
think, yeah. But I'm actually right in the range of like the total eclipse, and like so where I live is starting to like balloon with a lot of people like coming in and getting hotels and stuff so they can see. And apparently there's like all this shenanigans with like hotels like canceling people's bookings to like quadruple the charges later and stuff like that. There's like all this drama about like the eclipse right now where I'm from. So, but honestly, I think it's incredible, and I still think that like it's a miraculous one of those like universal I don't want to say mysteries, like universal miracles that like our moon and the sun and like the exact math of like where we are in space and time, they line up ever so perfectly. I don't know, the whole thing's just beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, first I didn't realize people travel for that, and I'd love it. Guys, if you're listening, touch grass today, step outside to look at the sun while you listen the whole time. I will be traveling as well, but I'm not traveling for the eclipse. Guys, you're gonna see not a lot of content this week on my channel. I'm taking my first vacation, man, ever. Since not only having my son, but also just being a content creator. I've not taken like a true day. I've left, but that was for like work trips. I'm going on a cruise, man. But anyway, do you want to keep those on? You want to? You can rock them. You want to take a second to put the
honestly,
other glasses?
I need to take these off. I can't see anything. I can almost now see my own eyes reflected in them, which is really weird. I can see myself blinking. I gotta take these off. And ironically, they're actually not from the lunar eclipse. I've had these for 12 years. These are from the transit of Venus. It says right here on them somewhere. It's from the transit of Venus that occurred in on June 5th, 2012.
See, this is my only issue with the eclipse thing. Can I say? I feel like they're always like, this is the first one in 50 years or 100 years, or this one was back in 2017, and like, this is it. But there's another. This time. How many of these are we gonna have, and how many? I feel like it's the glasses companies that are making it. It's all a scam.
So you think that like the eclipses are being fabricated by these like dollar store glass companies?
I mean, not really, but kind of the like, it's the last time in 100 years, but it could happen 7 years later, 8 years later.
Whoa, are you suggesting that the optics companies are creating clickbait content regarding eclipses?
They are. They'd make great YouTubers, huh?
Yeah, man.
This eclipse is busted.
Top 10 eclipses of the week.
I think we should what the top 10 eclipses of all time. Dude, that'd get a lot of views. I feel like should we talk about Marvel Snap now? Is it that time of the podcast?
Yeah, I think it's about time we talk about it.
Okay, well, let's get right to it, buddy. We got ourselves I would say a pretty good week because we had the OTA. We'll be talking about that here today, but we also have got the balance patch. Every now and then, like the eclipse, things line up and we just get a bang, 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 and we've got ourselves the balance patch coming up. We've got ourselves probably we need the patch because we got ourselves a more lackluster card instead of getting hyped about it. We're talking about why maybe he won't suck or will he just suck. And we're coming off a week of 2 crazy, fun, good cards, buddy. But that's what we're doing over here. What are we talking about on your side of the Snapchat?
Cozy, on my side of the Snapchat, we'll be talking about Baron, Zemo, and Red Hulk, giving our reviews and our impressions after this first week of trials. We'll also be talking about the new villains of Marvel Snap, which are the cards that are tilting people out the most. And as always, we'll also be doing our Snapchat mailbag.
Well, let's go and let's hop into it, man. We got a lot to break down today, especially with the OTA review and the patch and whatnot. U.S. Agent. I want to start with this. Obviously, he's not a great card. Now, I guess I'll read it out. He's a 2-cost 3-power card for those that don't know. His ability. Now, take a second here, guys. Collect yourselves. The overpowered ongoing 4, 5, and 6-cost cards here have -3 power. And, my friend, I want to start with this. He might be bad, but I think the crime here is he better than Captain America? And how screwed is that?
If he's better than Captain America, everything's gone to SHIT. Like, there's no way that he's actually better than Cap, because at least Cap, you control the effect. But at the same time, he is a 2-cost. He's a 2/3, so technically a premium stat line for the cost. Cap is underneath the premium stat line. Oh, man, I hate the question. I don't want to answer.
Well, we're going to talk about that on our second subject. I just thought it would be a fun way to kick it out. The character that's not supposed to be capped is better than Cap. Like, it's for as good as they do with Marvel synergy and lore. They, good God. But let's go and talk about him. First of all, guys, we have the Spotlight caches. It's going to be Mirage, who I think a lot of people forget are in the game, is in the game. And then we've got Jeffrey, the baby land shark. Obviously, Jeff is still a good card. I'll pass it to you. I think last week you gave him a 1. You didn't even give him a 1.5, just a 1-star. Are we at the same spot now?
Yeah, I give him a 1-star. I think that sticks. Yeah, like I've been trying to listen. For this conversation, I had the amount of medical grade hopium, as Cozy said last week, I've been huffing is intense. And I tried to come up with lines and stuff like that. I want to be wrong. For the record, every time I'm like, yo, this is a 1-star card, I want to be wrong, because that means we got a card that's more engaging than expected. That's a good thing, okay? But I don't think I'm wrong here. I don't think this is a good card. And there's a couple of different reasons. One, you can use it offensively to pull cards like a Magneto under Shang-Chi, by the way, which is kind of interesting. Is that cool? I don't know. If you're ramping something out that you don't want to get punched out by Shang-Chi, a Magneto would be safe.
Okay.
Is that Cozy? Am I really huffing now?
I don't think you're going to be wildly off here with a 1-star rating. I wanted to spin today. I think we could all agree, guys. This is going to be your save week. I think for not even almost everybody, because he's a Series 5 on top of that. I would say unless you're creating content for Marvel Snap or you're the biggest U.S. Agent fan of all time, which is all one of you guys, what are you doing with your life? Just skip the card. Skip the card. Jeff, he's going to come again. He has a million variants. You can skip the card safely. What we're going to try to do today, though, is talk about what you can use him in and where he might shine in the future. Because first of all, he might get a buff because all crap cards do. I almost broke while we're both almost cussing because there's no other way. Crap doesn't do it almost for this guy.
No,
we got to go with the full shit. But anyway, where he might shine. So first of all, man, we didn't get a lot of heat from last episode of how dare you? He's such a good card. Most people agree he's not great. I don't know what to give him. I want to say probably just a 1-star as well, but I'm could I convince myself of a 2-star? What's a 2-star card in your head? Give me one off the rip.
An example of a 2-star card?
Yeah.
Iron Fist.
Yeah. What is Iron Heart?
Oh, Ironheart's better than that because of the combo potential. Ironheart has 5-star moments.
Okay.
But Iron Fist never has 5-star moments.
Is Hercules a 2-star card?
Oh, now it is with the buff, probably, yeah.
Okay. So maybe this is could this be Hercules level? Maybe. So this
Hercules was terrible.
Yeah, I know, and he got the fastest buff. Maybe this will come right around with it too. Either way, let's go to talk about where I do see this thing, fitting in. I think it was a 2/2, which was going to be nice because you could have some at least Cerebro 2 synergy, I guess, because that makes sense. You got a lot of low-cost cards. That's kind of where it was going to have its best role. Then they just gave everything +1 power from that patch. Don't really know why. I think if you could get this thing to work, or if you want to buy this card, first of all, we talked about it last time, Iron Man Tribunal. It is going to be a counter to that. If anything gets too crazy, or just Iron Man. I think if Iron Man ever got out of control, he's a really good way to just, nip that in the bud. But dude, I think I've been playing a deck a lot again. The Return of Angela, which we'll talk about on the next subject. But man, I've been playing Sera, the old classic Sera again. This could, because clearly he's a turn 6 card, right? He's a turn 6 card without priority, essentially. Like, it's just bad. I mean, you don't really want to play him all that much. But I do see him having some form or use in that Sera list that has, like, Lizard, Luke Cage, and this guy right here. Because you could swing him to be like a 1/6.
I'm in shambles. You said the only line I had. Like,
is that's the main thing? Okay,
that's
yeah.
the only thing I had, man. I'm in complete shambles now. But no, you are right. Like, honestly, because with Sera, he goes down to a 1 cost. At that point, the board is somewhat established. You're able to somewhat predict where they're likely to play, and so maybe, just maybe, you can find a spot for him. That is the only real thing. So I'm glad you bring it up because I think you're correct.
I mean, truly, and I don't even think it's that copium because you're only playing Sera as your 5, right? For the most part, you're only playing Sera. So long as you don't play Sera where they played their 5-drop that same turn, then you definitely have at the minimum a 1/6, which is killer. We're gonna take that. That's the Maximus play. Awesome. Potentially 1/9. You could even go crazier, and potentially even more than that if they got a lot of 4-cut. So I do see him in a Sera list, which happens to be on the rise right now because of Angela. I can see him working in that. Lizard has always been great in those decks. He's only 2/5. And then you have the Luke Cage in there as well, potentially, if you want that little bit of, safety and padding. So I do think there's something, at least in that regard. And you've got the countering. I don't know. I don't know. And you know what else I like in Luke Cage? I almost made a video on it. I went a different route with it. The old Sera Shadow list, too. They're harder, but you have Shadow King in there who's just a monster at the moment in Snap. But then you have the Luke Cage as the added protection, right? You have the Luke Cage. If you Shadow King your Angela, you're safe. You're going to be okay there. I think there's going to be something there, bud. And so maybe that's his only use, yeah?
It's funny how you mentioned Lizard, right? Because this was a card I was thinking about a lot. Lizard used to be one of the absolute top cards in Marvel Snap. Repeatedly played nonstop. Second inner called the nerf to Blizzard, the nerf to Lizard, one of the most inconsequential changes they've ever made.
Yeah.
And don't you remember that patch note? And we laughed about it on the Snapchat. It killed Lizard. It killed Lizard to the point you really only play him in Sauron decks, and you only play him with Luke Cage. And so I was thinking about Lizard, and I was thinking about US Agent, because I did think that, like, okay, maybe we find some Luke Cage action here, of course, right? Because you could theoretically do like Luke Cage, obviously with Man-Thing, and do some other debuff space stuff. And then I was thinking to myself, you know what? Technically, if he hits one card, he's a 2/6, right? That's actually pretty decent stats. But isn't it interesting that reading this card, it doesn't feel like that's enough, considering how high impact a lot of the 2s are. Think about what Angela's doing right now. I'd rather have Angela than US Agent. Plus, it's in your hands.
Yeah, but I think if you play him on that last drop, right, and you play him alongside, and I think about this turn, you're playing with Maximus, you play him with, throw in a couple of the other 2 drops, Lizard. So right now we're at, 11 power for 2 energy. You play him down with the potential to be a 1/9, like a true potential to be a 1/9. 2 cards is not out of the question, man. Not even close. He actually might super excel in those decks. Like, truly no copium. We talked about how bad he is, and still that's why I guess I'll give him the 2-star, because I'll give a card a 2-star like Hercules if they work in something, at least one thing. But then we don't want to give it any higher than that, because then what happens? That's the only place you can play it, and there's not a lot of room for design there. The more we look at these 2-drops that are getting better and better, and we can go ahead and pull them up now, the more we look at some of these 2-drops, the more this kind of makes sense, right? You can even get Gladiator in there. We've seen that before. But yeah, we've got some higher statted 2-cast cards now. I don't know. Maybe US Agent does find his home. It's gonna be the only place that I see him. I also think, Alex, tell me this though, okay? And I don't know if this is gonna be in the Sera build. I guess it would have to be. But you could also theoretically pair this guy up with Goose, right? So you have a Goose lane, and then you're having that lane do its thing. You don't put them in the Goose lane, but they can't put the 6-cost cards 4 or 5 in there. So then you have a bit better of an idea of where to play them.
Wow, good shout out. I actually didn't think of Goose. Bringing up our favorite, is it a Flurkin? Is that what it's called, the Flurkin?
The Flurkin, yeah, the Flurkin. This is the only card that you can control where they put stuff. So I guess if you I guess you could almost just do Storm as well. I guess you could really create a space where they have to play in a certain lane. At that point, you're probably committing too much. So I think you would have to go with one or the other. But I think Goose with like an Ant-Man lane, it could cook up a little bit.
Okay, that's actually pretty interesting. That's what you're saying is basically restrict where they can play their 4, 5s, and 6s, forcing them into a location that allows you to get maximum effect off of the US agent. I do like that. That's pretty cool. I like that. And you could theoretically Goose and Storm on curve. Turn 4, you can even do something as simple as like a JJ in the Storm location.
Well, and what are we trying to do in Sera decks too? We're not trying to put like you're catching up last, like you're doing things later on, right? And so it's like, I don't know. I feel like you think Shang-Chi's still going to be in there, but maybe you just go the Shadow King route instead, and maybe you just go like Shadow and Rogue, something like that, right? You avoid Enchantress and Shang. You go Shadow and Rogue, and then yeah, you've got Goose, and then you're just kind of waiting to play Sera down. Now the problem with those decks is you have to have an alternative if you don't get Sera. Like it could really hurt if you don't get her. But I see a world. I do see a world where this will make sense.
I had this other thought too, like talking about synergistic cards, and like it's a shame because it doesn't quite get all the way there, but like you could make the argument that maybe even like Magneto could be interesting because at least it buffs half of the cards that Magneto might pull. But then again, it's like, okay, if you're going to be doing that, should you not be playing Kraven? Should you not be playing Kingpin? Should you not be playing something else? So like it has that factor. Another thing I want to mention too is while we're talking about synergistic cards is it is an ongoing, and we actually lack a lot of like inexpensive ongoing cards. And every time we add an ongoing inexpensive card, it's a low-key buff to Spectrum because Spectrum's 2+ power that comes across the board disproportionately benefits smaller cards. Because Ant-Man gets +2 and Namor still gets +2. So the more smaller cards you put on the board, the more impactful, in theory, Spectrum's buff is because you're hitting more pieces at once.
And keep in mind Luke Cage, right? He's ongoing. So then, bam, you're fine there. You can then just kind of go the route you want to go with. And then you have the, as we see in all competitive decks now, you have the 2 win conditions per se. So, yeah, I mean, there's definitely a place there. And I also think he's a unique kind of release valve, as you like to say, against things like Valkyrie. Completely kills her. Like, she wreck her because he definitely, gets rid of the 3 on her side or on the Valkyrie. Dr. Doom, just in general, you're going to hit one. One of those is going to be right. You're going to be taking him down at least to what? A 6-12, which is, I mean, hey, I don't know. The more we talk about it, have you convinced yourself to go to 2, or are you more on the 1.5 or 1 range here?
I still feel like he's not going to be like a meta penetrating card. Like, I just don't think he's going to be like a card that people are going to be clamoring for or like, resenting that they didn't pick up or anything. I think it'll need a buff. I can see this going to 2-4 before like, that Colleen Wing style where you're like, that's actually pretty decent stats. And then like you start to think about it. The thing that really holds down my willingness to go higher than 1 or 2, and I'm gonna stay at 1. That's what I said. I'm gonna stay there. Is I kind of went through my head. I did this practice of what kind of meta decks right now really care about this kind of card? I'll tell you right now, Red Hulk don't care. Right, Red Hulk do not care about -3 power. Does like Discard care? Like, does Apocalypse care? No. Does Dracula care? Yeah, not really. What about Destroy? Does Destroy ever care about these negative debuffs? Like, when is Death being really impacted by this? Right, like it's one of those things where like I kept going through like, okay, well, like Deadpool doesn't care, Venom doesn't care. Okay, that doesn't solve that issue. I just didn't see how like the way the meta is right now, and hey, everything can change on Tuesday, right? Everything can change on Tuesday, but as of right now, I don't see the answer. I don't know why this card, I don't know why the card exists, but I don't know what answer it's providing in the meta.
The only thing I can think of there is Sera, because if you look at the Sera list is what we said, because like, yeah, you talk about those, okay, but then Shadow King answers those decks. Venom's done. All right, Death is tougher, but completely, okay, Red Hulk, man, you hit him with 2 energy, that's all it takes, and you hit him with a Shadow King followed by this guy. You put that Red Hulk from a 23 plus 30 power card down to an 8 power card, like that.
Yeah, but then you accidentally float energy and it pops up by 4 anyway.
Yeah, dude, if you're floating energy on a Sera deck, then you're doing something wrong. But yeah, I mean, maybe, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, so again, I like playing devil's advocate at times, right, as you do, and looking at okay, where does it work? I agree, this card's not going to be that great, especially. Most of these cards, they don't care. Because if you don't have a Shadow King, you're done. If that's your own game plan, you're done. And really, my point to why I don't think it works is like, we like Man-Thing. He's fun. He's cool. It's cool to say that we have a Man-Thing deck every now and then. But ultimately, when he came out, what was the biggest thing we found out? Well, he's great, he's cool, but if you don't get Luke Cage in your draw, he's too risky, and we just don't like risky plays. That's why Titania, like, risky just doesn't go with Snap. People even looked at Nico and said, is she too risky? And she has nothing but upside at the time, right? But that's my issue. We've seen these give and take cards, and unless it's something like Gladiator, which until he was even a 3/8, people were still like, it's pretty risky, you know? That's my problem. I feel like the risky cards, the Guardians of the Galaxy, him, Man-Thing, they really need to be overstated to make up for what that risk is, you know?
Yeah, there's a lack of risk and reward, right? Yeah. Like you kind of lack that. Now, there is one thing that I'm really hoping for US Agent. And again, a lot can change coming up with this patch. Hopefully, US Agent, this has got to be the opportunity for Captain America rework. This has to be the opportunity. Like, it has to be the moment where they're like, we're releasing US Agent. We need to look at Cap. We got a patch, same day. We got to do it.
We're going to flip-flop it a little bit instead of OTA review and then the worst cards left. Let's just go right into that. The worst cards left, right? So, essentially, I want you to give me your top three. Like, we just saw our boy Crossbones. He finally did it. He finally transcended up to a 410. Beautiful thing. He's not a 4.8, he's a 410. Kind of sucks for the, you know, what I liked about him, the Shang-Chi thing. But besides that, it's like, hey, awesome. We finally got a card that has risen up at value. That was a dead card in a meme for a long time, right? For those that saw the video, the Ass Avengers, he was a key part of that deck. And he's cut from the team. He's cut from the team now. He's too good. Let's talk about the other cards now, because there's not too many left. But I would say give me like your top three. And we can both start with Cap, because I think at this point, right, Alex, what else is there to say? Spider-Man, he got his thing. They even said, like, you know, they even addressed, like, Spider-Man's an iconic card, right? Like, he's an iconic card. What are we waiting for at this point? If he doesn't get buffed this Tuesday, I just don't know, like, what we're waiting for to bring Cap justice. Why is Crossbones? Why are these other cards getting their time in the sun, and we don't have Steve Rogers?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. And like, I think that if they were just going to do like a 1 point power buff, they'd have done it already. I think they're probably looking at doing something a little different, because in like, honestly, this ongoing effect is not bad. It deserves to be in Marvel Snap on some card. Maybe it's just not Captain America, or maybe it just needs to be something a little different. You know what I mean?
But I feel like we've been saying that for so long. Like, if they're going to do it, it's going to be something. In fact, I can tell you for sure we've been saying that for at least like a year. Like, if they're going to do it, and we talked about the shield thing, we talked about all the cool things they can do with it, I just feel like it's a miss. Like, I just feel like I don't understand at this point. If US Agent is better than the real Cap, it's just bad. It's just, there's a flavor miss there by a mile. And I think, like, he's both of our number ones, no?
Yeah, no, 100%. He has to be. He has to be. I mean, I have one that's a little higher for me personally than Cap. Do you want me to get into it? Because I got some words to say.
Let's go to 3 and then go up. We'll save it for 1. Save your 1. I can tell it's an Alex choice. If you know, they have like the dev pick cards now. The Alex choice cards have their own thing. Okay, number 3. What is the third? Like one of the most cards that suck that deserve to be good.
All right, this is a bit of a reach, because like it's not completely terrible, but I have memories of what this card used to be. I want to take a moment to talk about Werewolf by Night.
Oh,
because I feel like this is a really awesome card that does something really unique in Marvel Snap that just fell off the face of the earth. Cozy, when was the last time you saw Werewolf by Night?
Dude, does he have 5 cost now? What the hell does he even cost?
Exactly.
No,
he's a 4 cost, right? Like, but really, like, this is one of the coolest cards in Snap that has just disappeared. Has it just fallen out of flavor? Like, is it not? I think it needs something.
Yeah, I think what this might be able to get, it was a little much at the time. Like November, December, this thing was ridiculous. And people were just doing like the Annihilus package with this. But I feel like just as they brought back Captain Marvel and Angela, because like the power has settled in a little bit, they could do that here as well a little bit, especially because of just the other tweaks that they've made around. Yeah, I think something should change with him. I do think they should bring him back in some capacity, even if it's like a full like rework on how he does gain that power. Whatever it is, like what a cool card, man. Like, I love that he could move around, and he had like a lot. It's funny, something as simple as Angela is such a cool card, and I think Werewolf by Night's kind of the same. It's just a fun, unique thing, and it's nowhere to be found.
Yeah, and the other thing about it too is like they changed Beast significantly, right? Beast got nerfed. It's no longer like a permanent kind of discount. It's a next turn discount, right? Remember? And so that actually has a really negative impact on the Werewolf by Night style decks because they used to really take advantage of the beasts and the falcons and playing the things for free over and over and over again. The other thing I was thinking about is if you're playing this type of balanced werewolf type deck, this is an iconic card for that archetype. And like sometimes you need a card to be just slightly good for that archetype. The way Cyclops is really good for Evo. Like if you just make like Cyclops not great, then that whole deck kind of feels like it loses identity a little bit, right? And so with Werewolf by Night, they made it so mid that whole deck archetype lost its identity and this card became completely forgotten. That's why I wanted to talk about it today.
Yeah, dude, I like that. And I, you know what, maybe this will fill the void of the one that you were going to talk about because we'll stay in the forecast. Because now that Crossbones fixed up, when I was drafting for the Ass Avengers, man, I was on 4 and I'm like, oh man, most of these have use. Most of them, right? Like even something a Tuma, you could say that. We've brought her up before. Yeah, I think this is the time we bring up White Queen. I think White Queen
That's
is
my number 2 as well.
Okay, so it's your number 2. All right. I'll let you get that to 2. I'll go to my other pick here on the 4 slot. This was a card that I think is kind of in the same area as Werewolf. I don't think it's as bad as people think, but it could be better. Remember for that brief period we had the 4/7 Stegron?
What was with that?
Right, and I don't know if like there are cards like Rhino that I think just should be like a 3/4. Like, you know, just give it a little bit of extra boost and then it, you know, okay, it makes a bit more sense. Stegron, I don't know if he's just a PowerPoint up. I think that might be fine. Maybe you give him some diversification from the other ones that kind of do this, and you do like move the highest enemy power card. Then he's amazing. He's much better, right? Or move the lowest. At least we know what's going on here a bit. Stegron, though, was like the shining star of that deck. He can really do some good. I mean, he can truly clog and throw your opponent off. If you don't have priority and there's an empty lane, like, you know you're going to win most of the time. If they're only playing one card, like Red Hulk, whatever that might be. I think he's close, like Werewolf by Night, but I think he does need a little bit of love. And I think Stegron is a card that people like to play, that he just sucks.
He's understated for an ability that's underwhelming.
Yeah.
Is exactly what it is. It's just that simple, right? An ability that's a little underwhelming needs the stats to make it worth playing, and he just doesn't have that, right? And it's similar to what like is happening with White Queen. Like White Queen used to be, remember during beta, the 4/6 stat item White Queen almost felt good to play. But we've added so many 4-drops that just like call Obsidian. Like, think about it. It's not even close. And why play White Queen when you can just play Loki and copy their whole damn deck?
No, and White Queen was like in like the leader control deck. She was in that. And I'm not saying all the builds, but she was just a great on-curve play. And yeah, that 4/6 felt fantastic. But at this point, I'll take an Iron Lad, get the same stats, and then have a chance to just win the game. You know, she's not going to win you the game. And maybe it's an effect a little bit of like people know decks more. They don't need to copy the highest card, whatever it is. It's like, but you just give her the Mirage +2 on their highest card. Like, what do you do here?
I think she just needs more power, honestly. It's funny you mentioned that because like we play so much Snap that it's come to a point where like in Conquest or even in a regular game, I can almost with like 95% certainty guess the deck and the deck makeup of my opponent based off like the first card they play. Like almost, you know what I mean? Like you almost know right off the bat. So you're right. I know they have Null. Like, you know what I mean? I know that they have, you know, Magneto, or I know they have Doom, or I know that, like, you know those things. So, like, copying the card, the scouting doesn't help that much.
What if she was a 5 cost, okay? Give her a little bit more power. She steals, and I think it has to be 5 for this to make sense for the risk. She steals from their hand their highest cost card.
That's awesome.
Isn't that freaking
like
awesome?
5/7 to start, 5/7, 5/8.
Like a 5/7, and you're gambling a little bit because they could have nothing, right? But if you know you're playing a destroy deck and you're like, dude, they've got that Null, they have that Null. You play her down, she's a little understated, and you just take that card right from them. And dude, that'd be such a fun card to play too.
That'd actually be cracked at 5/7. That's probably like a 5.
It's a little overstated. 5/4,
even less because like because you get to play their card probably.
Yeah, but it's a risk, dude. Because like think about it, you don't know if they have it. They could have Dumpster in their hand. Maybe the stats aren't perfect, but I think that ability is quite fitting for what she could do and would be strong and would be different than what this is.
I like the flavor, like no question. Okay. I like where you're at.
Okay, okay, fair enough. So she's your number 2. My number 2, again, I was looking at a lot of them, and I don't know. where this lands on your list. But again, I think people are just riding the copium train, and he's been on many thumbnails in the Snapchat before. This is another. I think we're at the point where he's out of the 2-cost slot, right? I think he can leave that slot and like give him the Adam Warlock. I mean, not like don't please God, don't make him like Adam Warlock is now, but like put him to a 5-cost and let's really experiment with this guy. Even if his ability was the exact freaking same, but he just was beefier, I'm good with it.
He should be a 1-3. Make him a 1-3. Same ability.
Okay. Yeah, but that doesn't feel like Colossus to me. Like, what if he was like a 5? What's a power number for 5?
Like 5'8's like your baseline, right?
5'8", but it can't be destroyed, which it usually couldn't anyway. Moved or power reduced? That's pretty sweet.
So we're nerfing Cannonball by association?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. And it's Colossus. I don't think people are going to complain too much about it. I don't know. I think this could definitely... This is one on my list on the iconic feature. He's iconic. He's just an iconic card. Deserves to be a lot better than he is. And it's a shame that he was even drafted to the worst cards in Snap Deck. I hate it. I can't stand it. I can't stand it almost as much as I already know what your number one's going to be. Like, I have a gut feeling. Okay.
Do you know that Colossus is the brother of Magic?
Hey, look at you. Man, you've become a little Marvel butterfly. I feel like you like back in like when we started, you would have been like, did you know that Colossus is an X-Men? And now look at...
Did you know that I didn't realize that War Machine and Iron Man were 2 different people for like the first 6 months of Marvel Snap?
Oh boy. What do you mean? Did you not watch the movies at all?
No, I'm recently catching up with the movies, man. I was like, who the hell is this gray? I thought it was just the original Iron Man suit in gray. Do you know the first Iron Man? How he's like he's learning how to fly and he's going across his garage? I thought that was War Machine. He just called it War Machine because I don't know why.
Oh my God. A lot of people like, what keeps you in love with, like, I'm just a Marvel fan. So I think like that's part of the excitement for me. Speaking of, dude, did you see, Iron Man in that new, game coming out soon? I think it's the alpha, the Marvel Rivals.
Yeah. The game looks pretty cool actually, doesn't it?
Dude, it is my 2 loves, right? So like you take Marvel and you take Overwatch, which I have as one of my favorite games of all time. And you're putting it together. There's a couple of things that I'm like, we'll have to see how it works out ultimately. But it's in alpha, and they've got a lot of chances to really make. Dude, I'm pumped. I'm definitely down to play.
Yeah. Oh, I'm 100% down to play. Like we have to play. And the other thing about it though is like, okay, when I played Overwatch, I was a Mercy main. I liked being the one that allowed the good players to be good. That's what I want to do. I want to be the support specialist. I feel so rewarded doing that. Even in like MOBAs, I played support classes. Like Dota 2, I'm a support player. In Heroes of the Storm, I was a support player. I'm always about letting the stars shine. And I feel like if this game can allow me to do that, I'm going to love it because I'm all in on like the lore. I'm all in on the characters.
I mean, it's the perfect concept. And how cool if like you're a support character, you can be like that in the Marvel world is really cool. And I hope he's not, but like, let's say Doctor Strange, like all of a sudden you're a support that's Doctor Strange, like really cool. When I was doing these hero games a ton, I was either like, oh man, I love being the prime DPS, like putting in the sweat, being like, I'll take the heat or the glory, right? Either one, or the role that nobody wanted to play, which was tank a lot. I always liked that. But like, dude, Colossus tank over here, Magneto being dude, it's just the makeup of it is probably going to be the next game I cover, if I had to guess.
Buddy, that sounds perfect. Perfect. We have to. Are we doing the Marvel Rivals cast?
Oh, dude, yeah, we'll have to hey, comment down below. What do we call the next podcast of the? Dude, I think we could do it, man. We could talk about zoo animals on that too, and then every now and then, I guess, give our take on the.
Bring up the zoo animals all the time. Hey, Marvel, the actual official Marvel Snap Twitter tweeted our thing about the elephant.
The zoo, I know, I saw that. I'm like, oh my gosh, dude. So speaking of like the roster is pretty depth on that game. Like, there's a lot to it. But like, dude, what character would you want to play as the most in that type of a game?
Magic.
She's there.
Magic.
She's there.
Yeah, I know she's there. I saw it. I got hyped up because, like, listen, this. By the way, this sounds like an ad read. I swear it's not. We're just actually excited. I've been playing I keep forgetting the name, the one with the car Midnight Suns. I've been playing
Okay,
Midnight
yep.
Suns. Like it's been months and months. Like that's how little I get to play games. Magic's my favorite character in that game by far. And so like I've totally started to like fall in love with Magic, the story, Limbo, Mephisto,
Yep.
that whole thing. I'm trying to like find the comics. I'm reading comics about the Runaways because of Nico and everything. I'm all in. And so yeah, I would 100% love to play some Magic in there. I'm not even sure she's a support though.
I don't know the role. I haven't looked in enough. I'm gonna let it. I'm sure they'll change it by the alpha. Dude, what I think they did good, which I wish Snap would have done, is like Bruce Banner is separate from the Hulk, or he's the same character, and then you build up to it. Or like Loki can just clone other people. Like, dude, that kind of stuff. The flavor is perfect. I think if they did Wolverine, really, like if they made Wolverine kind of like Genji, I'm in like that. Or even like Moon Knight, man. Like we don't get to play with Moon Knight in this game. Like you get. I think there's some really cool chances for them to make some stupid cool, they've got the template. They just have to execute it right and not make it too freaking microtransaction-y and all that stuff. I think it's NetEase that does it. I don't know. They don't have the best track record, so we'll have to see. Either way though, I'm pumped about it, buddy. I just had to bring it up. And then number one for me was Cap. Who is this Alex take?
You know exactly who it is. This is what I'm gonna say, okay?
Here it is.
Glenn Jones, I'm challenging you. Glasses are coming off. I am going to stare at the sun until Uatu gets a proper buff, because this card has languished for too damn long.
I honestly gave it a 50-50 shot if it was M'Baku or Uatu. I didn't know who you were going to pick. Also, goodbye, your eyesight. Uatu, you're going to be looking like Uatu. Your eyes will look like Uatu's eyes once you look into the sun, dude. They're just crisp. They're done. Bro, I was playing Uatu. I was playing the other day in my deck, and like, it's just so silly you can't see the second location. It's so silly, bro.
It's so ridiculous.
Like, bro, I was playing a game, and I was like, oh, okay, there's like, Tinker's Workshop, their location. And then the middle was like freaking Black Castle, or whatever, the one where you get the +1 each turn. I'm like, dude, that would have been great. Uatu, you couldn't see that, and then the classic I see all, but he doesn't. What do they do with him? Just let you see them all?
Yeah, he's a 145. Let's see the right location.
And
he
not
still
good
gets
enough.
Shang-Chi and no one plays him.
Not good enough.
I don't want to pretend like I know the answer. Like, there's probably a reason why they don't want to reveal the middle location. Maybe they don't want locations during hot locations to be completely like frivolous or something, right? But then again, if you're adding Uatu to a 12-card deck and he's bad, even if you make him 1/1 and give all the locations, that's probably still terrible. He never sees play, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it's a power problem. I like the idea of what he does. I don't like how he's implemented right now, though. He just feels awful all the way around. Like, he feels like a card that's unplayable.
I don't think they have a good fix for him, too. I guess I don't know, man. If they let you see all three locations, I think that's decent. He'll have his
Fair, at least.
very niche places. Yeah, Adam Warlock, I guess, is the other one outside of Cat for me. Try to make him work. He's horrible. There's no way to make him better. This is just honestly, at this point, scrap the concept. Like, I think you just try to make something new on him. I don't like it. It just sucks.
I'm so disappointed in you, Cozy. Didn't you do your research? Adam Warlock's been buffed twice already.
Yeah, I know. Watu, dude, I think Watu's got a couple buffs under his head too, But anyway, these are the worst cards that me and Alex both want to get love. Let's talk about the OTA review, though. Go to that real quick. We got to start with the return of Angela. My God, it feels like we're home. Feels like we're home.
She's back 100%.
Like, good gosh, she was so bad at her last state. And it's cool, man, because this buffed a lot of cards, man. This buffed Bast. This buffed all the movement package, obviously. Ravona. I mean, you got a good little mix in here. Sera, even to a degree. And it's funny because 2/8 is really the map, which is crazy, but that's really what you're getting her to if you're going crazy. Oh, I just love her. She's just better in the game.
Imagine being excited about U.S. Agent when you can be excited about Angela.
I know. For free. Day one free card.
Oh, yeah. And don't forget, this is a card that everyone has.
Yeah.
Literally, pretty much everyone has. And so, like, this is a beautiful buff. I'm so glad they brought it back because it's taken them a while to get here. They had to change Elsa to a 3 cost, which feels fine. It feels fine, right? I'm not like, it's obviously not what it used to be, but at least it feels reasonable. It feels fair. And that archetype needs something, like the Cyclops we were talking about before. It needs something, and maybe Angela is what you need because Kitty Pryde's back and forth doesn't do much. Hope Summers helps, Angela helps. Now you have all that added utility. suddenly those decks make sense again and they can be playable.
Yeah, and again, it's the same with Captain Marvel. They're bringing these cards back. Like there's a deck I highlighted, Spider Control, and it was from like August after the Captain Marvel thing, and I got to play for 4 days because they kill Captain Marvel like shortly after that, and it was exactly what you think it is: the Angel package, Captain Marvel, all that good stuff, right? But it's like great. I got to play that, and it didn't feel overpowered. When I was playing it back then, I'm like, dude, I'm just sweeping people. Like, there's so many other ways to win now, and so it does. It feels like they can bring her back, and it'll be cool if they can revisit some other cards, right? Like this, that they could bring back to its original state. Maybe Black Bolt stature, things like that.
It's funny because like I think that Black Bolt stature often gets brought up about needing additional power, but let's not forget that when Black Bolt and stature were literally staples of the meta felt awful when your cards were being discarded the entire time. But that's also kind of what's interesting about Black Bolt too is that he was being offset by the fact you were often discarding rocks because of the way those decks were designed at the time around Darkhawk and etc. But now if you're not discarding rocks, you're discarding core pieces of your deck, things start to feel a little worse.
Yeah.
But I do like what you're saying though. There are so many cards in Marvel Snack. Man, that is a great like kind of like side project for them. But there's so many cards in Marvel Snap that could use a little bit of love. And I feel like the development team is getting better at this. Like we're seeing these small incremental improvements to cards that traditionally have not seen play that are getting some love again. But at the same time, I had this shower thought about power creep and how like White Queen used to be a good card power wise. And then you have Cull Obsidian, now Angela at the 2 cost, and all of these things happening. I wonder if are the numbers just getting too big?
Well, they're raising them, right? I mean, like, now this is like the card that nobody cares about, but Sabretooth, right? They brought him up to a 3/5. I don't think it's going to do much for his playability, but like they brought him up because they realized like 5s can start going up more. They can 3 costs can start going up more. 2s, they're close. I think they almost have the 2 bracket like refined enough. Yeah. And then I think they're still working on 5. But yeah, Crossbones to me, them doing Crossbones, that Justice felt like, okay, at least they're discussing the power creep a bit more. There are still cards that we just talked about that definitely they need it, right? I'm not on the camp of like, there's some cards are going to suck. I don't know. Listen, you can have your Quicksilver, but like, I think there's some other ones outside of that. Meek, Sabretooth, it affected them, but not crazy. But Thanos, bro. I mean, how many times we talked about him? I think this was it, man. I think this was the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, Thanos got a huge hit. Like, and I suspect, and we don't know anything, but I feel like they're not done. Because based on what I saw with the change to the Time Stone and the change in how he's basically a massive Quicksilver now, it would almost indicate that maybe they have more plans with how they're going to adjust some of these stones or his general play style. Like, this OTA felt like the patch might have something to say about it too. Like, I don't quite think we have the full picture yet. And again, I know nothing. It was an instinct I had when I was reading the notes.
I mean, bro, sign me up if they change the stones to be like the Time Stone in aiding Thanos, right? So you've got like some other cards that you got, with synergy, but the main goal is to be playing possibly the best card in Snap if you build it up, right? If you get to its stature, right? Of like, the Soul Stone does this or whatever that might be. Man, like how cool would it be if maybe he gets the effects of the stones on his gauntlet when they're all out, right? So like he can push out the Soul Stones negative or whatever. I think that's a cool route to go to still make them feel iconic. But obviously at this point, like we were just sick of the like put cards in a Thanos deck. It's a good deck. I'm okay with this route. I think we're going to get negative things happening to him, but also positive. But yeah, so Thanos, massive change, guys. He's got the Quicksilver. He starts a new deck. That's mainly the OTA. We're doing okay on time. Let's go over to the last subject here. The biggest sleepers. Any other thing on the OTA review?
The only thing I wanted to mention quickly, I think we moved kind of fast over Sabretooth. Okay. Sabretooth, that might be a slept-on change in the sense that it's very similar to Gladiator, where it actually helps. It's a 2-pronged buff. Where not only does it buff the power of Sabretooth, but theoretically it's buffing Venom, it's buffing Null, it's buffing that entire package that's using power to destroy, or destroyed power is actually beneficial to the entire archetype. Yeah. So I think that like don't sleep on the actual extra power there because it's a bit of a double dip. That's all I want to say.
He had his moment in the sun. When I covered the OTA, I was like, hey guys, the best time Sabretooth was used was when you were like this kind of all-in Null deck, right? You just, because you can keep killing him over and over and over and over. You just keep killing him, build it up, right? I don't know. It's just such a tight list, man. It's so well. I mean, he might get that spot in there. I want to see how much his his play rate buffs up.
Dude, I'm so upset with you. I'm giving you another shot to bring up Sabretooth Moongirl. You missed your Moongirl quota. Remember the Sabretooth Moongirl death decks?
What is that? Dude, that's yeah. I think that was a different era, man. I mean, hey, you just go Squirrel in there too, and we kill him with Killmonger.
Killmonger the squirrels, get the death for free, play the Moongirl, eat the Sabretooth, and just start throwing them down everywhere.
Bro, can you if Snap even had like 2 more cards per deck, they could be some nasty. I wonder like what archetype. I think Destroy would have to be towards the top.
Well, yeah, because it just has this limitless potential. Just keep scaling, right?
Let's talk about the biggest sleepers at every cost, Alex. And as you guys know, we usually do favorites at every cost, but we got a couple comments where people wanted to know what cards we just think are getting slept on, right? So I would say they have to be like, on average, just not played enough, or they should be played more, or people think they suck. Either or is kind of what we're aiming for here, Alex. And I'm going to give it to you first for the 1 cost slot.
Spider-Ham. I think Spider-Ham is one of the most slept-on cards in Snap right now. Ironically, it hits Thanos every single time.
Yeah.
Every single time. He's sitting on the left side of the hand. I really like Spider-Ham a lot. It's obviously disproportionate, better Conquest card, which we talk about a little bit every once in a while. But I think it's a great card. It gives you information about the opponent's deck. It disrupts their hand. I think it's good, man. And, like, honestly, 1/1 feels weak, but its effect is worth it at times.
Dude, yeah. I've loved him at 1/1 since he's gotten there. I think Shadow King getting better too helps him out a ton because Shadow King's a beautiful synergized card with him. You can just nuke that ham to 0 whenever you kill on the pig side, and that's crazy. That's absolutely nuts. Like the pig, dude, I went Ant-Man. I feel like Ant-Man is just not getting the respect he deserves. Dude, he's a 1/5. Very easy to accomplish. Ongoing, so it's kind of tough to get rid of that power stat. I think people should be putting Ant-Man in their decks more. Truly, outside of just the ongoing package, he's just a decently good statted card, and I think could work even with U.S. Agent to some degree.
First of all, one of my favorite variants in the game. Not only is Ant-Man stealing a cookie, but he's stealing my heart. But truthfully, honestly, a very good card. A very good card at 1/5. Easily disruptible, though. Not only with just Killmonger, but Polaris will do it. Anything that kind of moves cards around. Cannonball, Steggy, they'll mess up the Ant-Man location quite a bit. But this is one of the examples where, like, it's a 1/5 that becomes a 1/7 with a Spectrum hit, right? You love to see it. It's a really good card.
An easy 1/5 at that, and people just often don't do the math. 2 costs, I feel like there are 20 cards to pick.
Yeah, so if we want to talk about 2 costs, I think there's one. Okay, I'm kind of going on a limb here because the 2 costs I want to talk about is, I think, universally understood as being good, but I don't think people really appreciate just how good it is, and it's armor. So in a lot of the decks where Destroy kind of starts to pop off a little bit, like I'm playing some Evo, stuff like that, I cut Kyera and I add armor. Because armor is not only defensive, but it's offensive depending on the meta. And if Destroy is 12% of the meta, having armor is not only a snap condition, but a complete disaster for your opponent. So I really like armor. I think that it is underappreciated for its offensive capabilities. I love the card.
Yeah, I do. I think that's a great pull. I think it's one of those classic, like, people know it's good, but they're not using it quite to its... And I think that's actually, like, the rhyme and rhythm of a lot of these 2 costs. Like, they're just not utilized to the degree they should. We've talked enough about, like, Kraven, Shadow King, and those are ones that I think stood out before this recent patch. Bro, I think the same thing can be said for Quake. It's nutty to me that we don't play Quake near as much. I don't know about you, dude. I know since her buff, you have lost a game because your opponent has played her, and you're like, oh my god, what a play. Can't even be mad about it. There should be more of these. No question about it.
100%. Actually, in the U.S. Agent deck, if you have like a Sera turn 6 play, U.S. Agent for 1 cost, Quake for 1 cost, that is a hell of a lot of disruption, right? You can switch the locations, put U.S. Agent on a specific lane, completely destroy their plan. I like Quake a lot. And it's one of those, you know what the problem with Quake is? We know it's good. We want to play it. We like playing it. But it's too easy to cut. It's too easy to cut. And I think that's what's wrong.
It is, yeah. And I think a lot of these, it's like, oh, I can make, it's like kind of the same as like Cable. Like, I think Cable's like, I love Cable, dude. I love
Cable.
But when you look at the list, you're like, he's kind of in here for the extra spice, right? Unless you're building a synergized deck, right? Like, you always go for this, like, maximum synergy. And so, like, some of these independent cards, per se, it's like, that's where I feel like I love Baron, right? I think Baron's fun. We'll talk about him on your side. He's kind of an independent card in some ways. Like, he kind of does his thing. And so I think he might be that same vein eventually. But, we'll talk about that later. 3 cost, buddy.
Oh, for me, there's only one that needs to be talked about, and it's Rogue. I've been playing a lot of Silver Surfer lately, and I've been putting Rogue in my decks. No one respects Rogue. People will snap on me with Iron Man and locations, with like, it doesn't matter, Miss Marvels. It does not matter what it is. No one expects you to Rogue their cards. No one. And when you do, it's one of the best feelings in the world. I cannot express how many cubes I've stolen with Rogue over the past month. This is by far the most slept on 3 cost in the game.
Love to see it, man. I feel like I always pick Negasonic. I'm not going to do it this time. I'm going to pick Sauron. I think you had him on your list a couple months back. Hey, gosh, just your monthly reminder not to forget about the card. Red Hulk does not have an ongoing effect. Okay, War Machine now, we do have duo synergy with potentially Ebony Maw. I think there's non-ongoing cards that are beautiful with Sauron. Shuri's certainly back. She's back doing fine. She's doing better than ever. Sauron deserves to be in that package a lot of the time as well. The Hope Summer Shuri is what is really over the top now, so that's where it could be tough. But I'm all for an either or as well. You know, if you get one, you play the other kind of thing. I think Sauron is still there.
It's so funny. We talked about it on a prior Snapchat. Sauron is the #1 card in Snap that no one talks about, with the highest win rate, the highest cube rate. Everything about this card is an absolute banger. Like, it got nerfed. It used to be a 3/3. Yeah. And when it got nerfed to a 3/2, we were like, oh, really? Sauron's getting nerfed? Why? And it's like, because it's literally the best card in the game.
Yeah.
Like, you don't think it is. You don't realize it is. It doesn't tilt you out the way, you know, Blob does, because Blob's effect is, look at this tower of power that just tooted on me or whatever. Eliath pisses you off for the same reason. Sauron just allows everything else to piss you off because everything else is so much better. You're not mad at Sauron. And so, like, yeah, this card's unreal.
And
yeah,
he's got the rare of, like, just the easiest snap condition. Like, there's as easy as it gets to know when to snap. Gotta love him. 4 cost.
It's funny because you kind of stole a little bit of my thunder. It's Shuri, and I'm glad Shuri's making a comeback here. For the longest time, Shuri was being completely slept on. I started playing some Shuri over the last couple of weeks, you know, did some content on it, this and that. And it's just funny because, like, yes, the play pattern is very straightforward, but you know what's really straightforward about that play pattern? It steals cubes. It just wins cubes. And, like, people just, they're just like, oh, I'm against a Shuri. That's a massive Red Skull. They definitely have Taskmaster. I can't do anything. Right. Yeah. And I think that, like, at the end of the day, extremely vertical, strong, high power under armor. They can't Shang-Chi it, and you have the optionality of where you 50-50 Taskmasters. Too much, people will retreat. It's a very good 4-cubing deck.
Yeah, I think Hope Summer's changed it massively too. Just the either or there is insane. This card that I've got, man, I think is underplay. People know it's good, but I'm not seeing it in lists, man, at all, and I don't know why. And that's Omega Red, man. Why are we playing him? Why are we playing him? It's a great card. It's a perfect substitute for Miss Marvel. But even more so, like, I loved him with Red Hulk because you're like, hey, you're not losing that lane. Wherever you play red, you're not losing it. And oftentimes in Snap, speaking of these, like, vertical lane stuff, people are going all in on a couple lanes. And if you're able to beat out one of the lanes that they're aggressively going on, and you've got Omega Red, that 3 power could be enough just to steal that other lane or help you on a control deck.
I love the call out. It's funny because, like, I was staring at Omega Red the other day, thinking about, like, I gotta do something with Omega Red eventually, and I just didn't get around to it. Yeah. I feel like it's probably, I think you're right, this is probably one of the most slept on cards in Snap because the effect is good. This is pure power. It'll go across all locations. It'll go across negative zone. Does not matter. Does not care. It'll get it done. Probably, yeah. I agree. I think this is probably the best call of the list so far.
Thanks, man. I was looking at him. I'm like, man, why don't we play this card? 5 costs.
5 costs for me is kind of interesting because, like, I've been, like, kind of going back and forth, and, like, I kind of wanted to say Claw, right? I wanted to talk about Claw, but I actually am going to give you a different answer. And this is going to be one that's a little shocking. I want to talk about Annihilus for a second because you might think, Alex, we know Annihilus is good. Yes. But what's interesting about Annihilus from a meta share percentage, it is way, way, way lower than so many prominent archetypes, despite having win rates that exceed them, despite having cube rates that exceeds it. I think people understand that Annihilus is good, but I don't think they respect just how good this card actually is. And it dodged, it was supposed to, we had an inclination it was going to go to a 5/5. It goes from a 5/7 to a 5/6. So that's, I'm grateful for that. This card is probably the one of these single best cards in Snap, probably easily in the top 5. And it does not get spoken about at all. And I think that's kind of wild to me. There's a pocket of players that really respect it. We know it's a good card, but I think it's not identified as being literally one of the best in the game.
He's the easiest card to combo with in the game. He has got one of the most clear cut, like, even Angela, she's great. You got a lot of cards that go in that deck, man. Like, you kind of can't cut, too. You've got the Jeff, you got Nightcrawler, potentially. You've got Spider-Man, and then it becomes a deck. A Nihilist, Hood, Sentry, Nihilist, done. Do what you want. Do whatever you want from that standpoint, and that's so cool. And there's not a lot of decks like that, and I would agree. I would say if you are having a tough time, like if you're in like 60s, 70s, or you're a more casual player, just play a Nihilist, guys. Like, just, like, you're gonna... This is your ticket. This is your ticket to infinite, man. I'm telling you, Alex, you're correct. Mine was more of like kind of like slept on per se, and that's Valkyrie. I think with Shadow King coming back with these giant over the top plays, I do think Valkyrie is one of those cards. It's not even, the problem is I'm going to shout this out and still not play it all that much, right? It's one of those, like, you know, it's good. You do have to kind of big brain a lot of things. Ant-Man got better. Angela's back. Those are insanely great synergized cards. I think Valkyrie does deserve more respect, and it won't be long till more lists come out.
I feel like Valkyrie is a card that's similar to like Titania, or that, like, those types of cards that are challenging to play, so people shy away from them a little bit. Phenomenal card. I do like it a lot.
Yeah. Let's wrap it up here as we go to the top of the hour. 6 cost cards, and this one's tough because I think they're all doing pretty well. But Alex, what's your choice? I think you already know mine.
For me, the 6 cost card that I think is being slept on to a certain extent is it's Galactus, honestly. I think Galactus is way better than people are giving it credit for. I think that people are not seeing much Galactus. Seriously, if you don't believe me right now, get into a game of Snap. Don't put in Wolverine and stuff. Play Wave and see if they call you on the Galactus play. I'm telling you, people are seeing Wave and they're not thinking Galactus. That red flag, that alarm bell is not going off because the card does not have the meta prevalence that it used to. And I do think that I think Galactus is being slept on. I think this is a really good card.
And what I like about him is if you have Shang-Chi and you have Null, or Null and Alioth, they're so screwed. Like, you go first, great, I'll play this. Oh, you go second, great, I'll play this. It's so tough to beat it. Mine is gotta still be Leader. I think this might be Leader's best time to shine because of Red Hulk. I lost a game the other day. Someone leadered my ass, and I played down my Red Hulk. I'm like smiling ear to ear. I play my 30 power, and it just cool, done. Match over. And it's maybe this is why, like, this is why Leader exists or things like this. But yeah, Red Hulk was created by Leader in the lore. Hey, maybe that's why he's got his goat, right? But yeah, I think Leader definitely deserves to be more in control decks for sure. Ones that you're winning the game, you get up to turn 6, and you just copy what they do.
I haven't played a Leader deck in the longest time. Maybe that changes this weekend.
Give it a shot, man. Give it a shot. And guys, also, go check out Alex's side of the Snapchat. We're going to be talking about Baron Zemo, Red Hulk, the new villains of Snap. And guys, the Snapchat mailbag. Thank you guys so much for hanging out this week. Remember, I will be away. So go check out Alex's content. All right, guys, have a good one. Have a great one. Happy snapping.